Well, also, here's the generations about wars as well. And salute to our veterans. The lost generation was the generation that fought in World War One. And the greatest generation, of course, fought in World War II. And the silent generation fought in Korea. Yeah, and and Vietnam, and the early boomers would fight in Vietnam, while the Gen Xers would go to Kuwait and Iraq. The Cold War. And some of the late Gen Xers and early millennials would go to Afghanistan and Iraq as well. The Middle East. Yeah. But yes, I'm sure most of the veterans of World War II, the greatest generation, not a lot of them are still around today, just a handful of them. And we still have a lot of Korean War and Vietnam War veterans still with us today, but not so much Korea, but we still have a lot of Vietnam vets out here. And of course, Afghanistan and Iraq as well. And yeah, well, most of the Gen Xers are done with the war, I think, or not fighting anymore, were discharged. And we have a very few millennials that are still out with the war or that are active military veterans at the moment. And not too many of the Generation Z are in the war at the moment, or maybe they are, because well, right now I think since Vietnam, I think it was optional back then. But I know for World War II was mandatory, and World War One and Korea. But I think it became optional, I think, in the 70s and 80s. But that's if you, yeah, it's their own personal choice, I think, or whatever. But, yeah, but we know that the greatest generation fought in World War II. Yeah. Of course, the silent generation was too young to fight in World War II. And yeah, the lost generation was, of course, too old to fight in World War II. But the greatest generation, they were too young to fight in World War One. But they were born during World War One. And of course, the silent generation was born after World War One and between the wars and World War II. While the baby boomers were born after World War II. But they were born during the Korean War. And only the oldest of the boomers fought in Vietnam, while the Xers were born during the Vietnam War. And also, but yeah, and many of the millennials were born during the Cold War, and were born during Kuwait and Iraq, but yeah, the earliest Gen Xers, like I said, would go to fight in that war. But yeah, and of course Gen Z were born during Afghanistan too. So, well, generations and the wars and stuff like that. But well, it is a great day after all, and see you next time.